So I was working on this parental guidance review, but then I watched the Canadian release of Honest Apple. And something died inside of me. I don't really enjoy this, but I feel the need to discuss this episode and how the show keeps screwing up Applejack in general. Applejack always had it rough. She always had to deal with those background pony jokes. She never got as much focus as the rest of the main six, and it's kinda obvious why. She started out as the most well-rounded of the main cast. Honest, helpful, dependable, and hardworking. She used to be the voice of reason. And AJ has no real goal in life, as she is happy working on her farm. That's all fine and dandy, but there's little to no reason for her to do something else or go somewhere. The only exception for that is her competitiveness. But that seldom shines through, as this trait is usually more associated with Rainbow Dash. Sure, those two are portrayed as friendly rivals from time to time, but I can only think of 2 episodes where this was actually apparent. 4 they were friends and Assassination. This, she doesn't really run into much conflict. She's usually more portrayed as a supportive character, helping others to overcome their problems. And this is when she usually shines, and I'm actually fine with that. The problem is that AJ is supposed to be a main character, and therefore has to run into some personal struggles from time to time as well. So, how do the writers pull that off? Well, it's either about her family, her farm, or her positives getting turned into negatives, which she usually manifests in her stubborn attitude. She's helpful and dependable, therefore she hates it to let people down, and since she is the most dependable, she can handle everything. So she doesn't want to ask or accept any help. And she obviously cannot fail at anything if she were to disappoint people in the process. She is honest, so she cannot lie. She cares about her family, so she is overprotective of her sister. She always knows what to do, so obviously she can't be wrong about anything. She knows what works, so she always sticks to her traditions. This is not necessarily a bad thing, it shows that she is indeed a flawed character, but the problem is that most of her struggles originate from her own belief that she can't do anything wrong. While she appears humble, it actually makes her almost as egocentric as Rainbow Dash. If you challenge her opinion, she never listens, and it's not helped by the fact that her negative traits are always played up to 11. That being said, up to season 5 she was still pretty balanced. While episodes that focus on her had their weaknesses, most of them weren't exactly terrible either, and she got plenty of moments to shine in those and other episodes to boot. The main attraction is easily one of my favorite season 5 episodes, even though it does highlight that Applejack is also quite judgmental. She immediately assumes the worst of Rara. Thankfully she realized her error rather quickly, only to target Sven Gallop next. While she was right about him, it still felt to me like she was jumping to conclusions rather fast. And then season 6 happened. Applejack never was my favorite character, but I still liked her. Season 6, however, showed little to no redeeming qualities for her. All episodes that feature her portray her in a negative way. Or can you tell me one moment in season 6 that actually highlights Applejack's strengths? And I'm not talking about AJ proclaiming that she never lies in Viva Las Pegasus. That's just pretentious. That does not mean that every episode with her was automatically bad. I enjoyed Buckball season a lot, and plenty of people liked Where the Apple Lies and Viva Las Pegasus. However, while her actions in those are at least somewhat understandable, these episodes are still about proving her wrong. Even before season 6, a lot of episodes were like this. Where other characters try to overcome their weaknesses and grow, it seems like AJ is going into the opposite direction. She's always the one that has to be proven wrong first, and without any episodes that portray her in a positive light, it just seems to get worse. Now, this is in theory already enough material for one video to explain why I grew to dislike Applejack. but the last straw came with the season 7 episode Honest Apple. Frankly, I didn't expect to like this episode after reading the synopsis. Rarity appointing Applejack without even asking her, mind you, to be a judge on a fashion show is a terrible idea. The first 5 minutes even discuss this. You know it's bad when even Pinkie Pie questions your logic. But oh boy, AJ manages to be insufferable in this one. How bad is it? Well, remember how everyone hated Fluttershy and putting your hoof down for calling Pinkie Pie and Rarity's occupations ridiculous? Well, AJ does the exact same thing to Rarity here. The difference is that Fluttershy was cocked up in the moment and immediately regretted it. Now, people to this day discuss if Fluttershy actually meant what she was saying in that situation. I would like to point out that it had been already established that Fluttershy herself has a passion for fashion. Somehow I never see anyone bringing that one up. Go figure. In any case, it makes it highly unlikely that she actually meant it, as Rarity's occupation is something she is interested in. No, Applejack on the other paw defends her statement as being her honest opinion, even after it becomes apparent that she insulted everyone and hurt Rarity's feelings. In other words, she noticed that she accidentally insulted her friends and tries to defend herself by ensuring that she really means it. Rarity had to show her how this feels by introducing her to someone who doesn't like apples. Not to mention that AJ gets triggered pretty easily, considering that Strawberry Sunrise only said she doesn't like apples and prefers strawberries. There's nothing wrong with that. She only becomes savage when AJ got ridiculously offended by that. But even after AJ realized that she shouldn't have said that, she never takes back her statement. She only says that she appreciates that those fashion ponies put a lot of effort into their passion. So she learned something, but the problem still stands. She still doesn't understand fashion at all. We've already been here before. Now, of course, AJ was invited by Rarity to judge practicality, and technically speaking, she only did what Rarity asked her to do. Again, stupid move on Rarity's part. And you could argue that AJ did point out what is impractical about these clothes. The problem is that she judged everything based on practicality only, wanting everything to be as plain and useful as possible. Guess what? A fancy dress will always be less practical than your normal street clothes. Not to mention that in the world of Equestria, clothes hardly serve a purpose to begin with, other than looking fancy. You see the problem there, right? The only time she has somewhat of a point is when she critiques Coco Pomet's disco ball outfit and pointing out that the belts, photo finish and hoity-toity picked look exactly the same. Those two examples do highlight that fashion can be a bit ridiculous, fair enough. But her other criticisms are completely useless, as they are less about practicality than just stating that she doesn't get why someone would wear this. Now, I talked with a friend who thinks that she still had a point somewhere and that those clothes could have been a bit more practical. Thing is, it would have worked if those clothes were more exaggerated, as the disco ball dress or the belt example, and the episode itself makes a point about it that AJ is wrong the entire time. This could have been avoided if at least one of them would have altered their design for the final presentation based on AJ's comments, while still making it fashionable, admitting that her criticisms was at least helpful to some degree, or if she had done her job as a tiebreaker and actually gives a valid point why one of the dresses is actually better than the others, thanks to practicality instead of copping out. This also undermines the whole reason why Rarity even appointed Applejack as a judge. She wanted someone who gives an honest opinion, but Applejack doesn't give one, and her opinion didn't matter at the end. AJ stated that everyone deserved to win because they all worked hard on it, and Rarity agrees. That is not how it works. Yeah, they all worked hard, but the idea was to find a winner. It makes the whole competition pointless, and AJ being a judge as well. Not to mention that only because you put a lot of effort into something doesn't automatically make it good. If that's the only compliment you can think of, it usually means at least he or she tried. A friend of mine defends this episode saying that artists do need an honest opinion and shouldn't ignore harsh criticism. That's true, I completely agree with that sentiment, but this is not the point of this episode. AJ's harsh criticism is portrayed as having no substance to it. It is only insulting and doesn't matter. Now the main reason this pisses me off so much is that AJ should know better by now. Fashion never was her thing, fair enough, but she befriended Rarity 6 seasons ago in Look Before You Sleep. Those two had this dynamic of Applejack getting used to Rarity's antics and learning to appreciate them thing going on since then. Not to mention that AJ supported Rarity's passion on several occasions. But most importantly, we had Suited for Success. You know, that episode that turned Rarity from one-note fashion diva into a fan favorite? Remember that one? Well, Honest Apple does pretend it remembers the episode, considering it sees the return of Hoity-Toity, who hasn't had a major appearance since his introduction in Suited for Success. But the writer seemingly ignored everything else about that episode. Sure, Rarity was the focus, but everyone learned a lesson there. Now, Applejack had no sense for fashion back then either. Case in point, she planned to wear only her boots for the Grand Galloping Gala. Well, she should have known back then that this is a social no-go, but that's besides the point. In return, Rarity decided to make dresses for all of her friends, and once she is done, her friends don't exactly appreciate the result. So they bug Rarity to make dresses to their liking, and we see how well that turns out. Let's take a look at what in AJ's eyes is a perfect dress. Now it does look ridiculous, but with exception of maybe the hat, it does reflect Applejack's pragmatic nature. It is short and doesn't limit her movement, the saddlebags let her carry stuff around, and while the boots are perhaps the worst thing about this outfit fashionable speaking, they are great if you want to walk around in mud. Actually, now that I look at it, this outfit isn't that terrible if you were to remove the boots and the hat. It's not suited for high society, but it does capture the country girl look pretty well. So from a practical standpoint, this outfit is a solid 9 out of 10. But AJ herself noticed that it looks quite ridiculous, and that should have taught her that practicality is not everything. And the entire main 6 learned to appreciate Rarity's hard work and that there's more to fashion than one might think. After that, Applejack seemingly has no problem dressing up for the Grand Galloping Gala and other social events as well, indicating that she accepted that there are times where you should have an adequate gown. But in Honest Apple, none of this shows, and she judges those outfits not for the intended purpose. I should wrap this up. I don't really hate Applejack. I actually want to like her, but lately she seems to be reduced to a stubborn shadow of herself who thinks that she is always right and never listens. Not to mention that she seemingly traded her empathy for stupidity. And she seems to get a bit too much praise for being dependable and honest, as she takes a lot of pride in it. At this point I start to wonder if she really is a helpful pony because it's the right thing to do, or because she wants other ponies to depend on her, that she simply likes to claim to be the better pony. I don't really think so, but folks like these creep up when every time she appears only her negative character traits are highlighted. Imagine every Rainbow Dash episode was Mysterious Mare-do-Well. You wouldn't like her that much either. Honest Apple just happens to be a new low, calling Rarity's passion ridiculous, noticing that she insulted people and that Rarity is upset, but defending that statement by stressing that it really is her honest opinion, making it clear that yes, she really means it. If I were Rarity, I would never want to talk to AJ again. That's what I call character assassination. Now you can argue that being featured in a badly written episode doesn't automatically mean that the character in question is bad, because that's what this episode is, badly written. Heck, I even have a pretty good guess why this episode turns out this way. It is written by a completely new writer who probably doesn't have the best grasp on the characters yet. And I don't want to write him off completely, as Honest Apple had some genuinely funny scenes. But he certainly made a bad first impression. The problem is that AJ hasn't been written very well in a long time. If you do it long enough, out of character becomes in character. This has been a long time coming. But I think that AJ at the time is a terrible character and it will take at least 3 main attractions to redeem her for me. And that's my honest opinion.